I'm sure you'll agree by now that Solomon has encountered some rather strange and downright insidious demons, some of which have crumbled before his iron will, and others which have tested him in some capacity. But all of these demons have had some sort of human physiology, and whilst they do borrow attributes and characteristics from the animal kingdom, none of them take on the actual form of animals themselves. Until now. Having dealt with the demon Envy, Solomon immediately commands yet another demon to come into his presence, and to his surprise, he is met by a large hound, one that speaks with a terribly loud voice, saying, "Hail, Lord, King Solomon." Already we see that this demon, this hound, doesn't regard Solomon as anything but his lesser. Despite recognizing Solomon as a lord and a king, he commands him to hail, signifying how important the demon is, or how he is used to being regarded by others. Solomon is astounded by the creature and demands to know who or what it even is. The hound declares that whilst he appears to be a dog, he was actually a man long before Solomon was even born, and whilst he was a man, he conducted many great sins upon the earth. He also explains that as a mortal, he was very intelligent, and was of such a great power that he could hold the stars of the heavens back. "I do indeed seem to thee to be a hound," he says, "but before thou was, O King Solomon, I was a man that wrought many unholy deeds on the earth. I was surpassingly learned in letters, and was so mighty that I could hold the stars of heaven back, and many divine works did I prepare." Here he is implying that whoever he was able to make miracles, though whether this was through God or not is not determined. It seems as if this man he used to be was working independently from God and seemed to possess some power not given to him by God, but possibly by Beelzebub or some other high-ranking demon. Though this is never specified, it could be that God had given him a certain set of powers, and that this man might have been a prophet of some kind. But with his divine abilities, he became arrogant and prideful, thus why that man no longer exists, and he appears as he does now. Unfortunately, we are not told how this man became this hound, which Solomon now beholds, but one can guess that his dubious and unrighteous ways would lead him down a dark path, manifesting him into the form he has now. He goes on to say that, "I do harm to men who follow after our star." But unfortunately, the star he speaks of is not elaborated on, nor who he means by our. Furthermore, the original text is actually corrupted in this passage, whereby he proceeds to tell Solomon that he turns these men who follow his star into something. Because the original text is unreadable here, it is unknown what form he turns men into, but based on the next line, we can assume that they do not last very long in this form. He says, "And I seize frenzied men by the larynx, and so destroy them." Here he states he grabs men by the larynx, which is the voice box, so you might say he grabs men by the throat and destroys them, or strangles them. He also notes that after they followed his star, they become frenzied. Given that he was once a man who became a hound, it could be that he transforms men into hounds as well, perhaps ones that are rabid, and after doing this, he takes enjoyment in killing them. Of course, this is just an idea, as the omission in the original text will probably never be truly defined. Solomon proceeds to demand the name of the demon, to which he reveals is staff, or Rabdos, and Solomon proceeds to ask him what it is that he does upon earth. Rabdos replies that, "Give me thy man, and I will lead him away into a mountainous spot, and will show him a green stone tossed to and fro, which thou mayest adorn the temple of the Lord God." The green stone that Rabdos refers to does not seem to have any function here, other than that it would look pretty on the temple. Why Rabdos chooses to reveal this to Solomon is not known, but it could be that Solomon has bound him by the ring, which is not specified, or that Rabdos wasn't as terrible as he tried to convey, and was actually trying to bargain with Solomon at this point, so he didn't get sucked into working like the others, By this point, there would have been many other demons doing chores around the temple, including the frightful Asmodeus, and even the prince himself, Beelzebub. Whilst he commands Solomon to hell before him, by this point he has probably come to realise that the exact opposite is bound to happen. The revelation of this green stone is pretty random after all, and serves no purpose other than to make the temple look nicer, which should have been the opposite of what the demon would have wanted. So it's possible that Rabdos realised that Solomon was the real deal and didn't want to mess with him any further. In response to this, Solomon becomes intrigued by this green stone. He orders one of his servants to go with Rabdos to find the gem, but also gives the servant the ring for which to bind the demon who shows him where the gem is. By this, there's an implication that it is not Rabdos who shows the servant where the stone is, but more so that Rabdos leads the servant to yet another demon who possesses the stone. Solomon tells us, "And I said to him, whoever shall show thee the green stone, seal him with this finger ring, and mark the spots with care, and bring me the demon hither. And the demon showed him the green stone, and he sealed it, and brought the demon to me." The other demon in question here is brought before Solomon, but he is not identified. But there is an idea that the demon who is in possession of the green stone is actually the demon Envy. Solomon tells us, "I, Solomon, decided to confine with my seal on my right hand the two, the headless demon, likewise the Hound, that was so huge he should be bound as well." The only other headless demon we have seen thus far is the demon Envy, and we know from the last video that Envy isn't exactly put to work on the temple, but instead bound alongside Beelzebub, presumably when Beelzebub was not working himself. In any case, both this headless demon, whether Envy or not, is bound alongside Rabdos, and the two are confined to Solomon's employ. In fact, Rabdos earns himself a tiring and somewhat humiliating chore. Solomon tells us, "And I bade the Hound keep safe the fiery spirit, so that lamps as it were might by day and night cast their light through its maw on the artisans at work." We aren't told what the fiery spirit is, but we understand that they are an actual fire, or some element that emits light. Rabdos appears to keep these fiery spirits in his mouth, a place perhaps where they cannot be diminished by the wind, and are kept safe and alight. With charged with keeping the fires alive, this increases productivity on the temple. For now, Rabdos himself becomes something of a lantern that casts light over the workers, allowing them to build during the night. In this, Rabdos is reduced to a glorified street lamp, and his presence may very well have brought hassle upon Solomon's subjects, for whilst they would finish the temple faster, they were now enabled and commanded to work during the evening as well. Solomon proceeds to glorify God as he always does, and is revealed to secure the green stone for himself. He continues to double down on the demons, demanding them to cut more marble and truly getting his money's worth out of his free labour. His final interaction with Rabdos comes about here, where he asks him the same question he asks all the demons. "By what angel art thou frustrated?" And Rabdos concedes and admits, "By the great Brius." Whilst we are not given any more information as to who this angel Brius is, some have linked it back once again to Greek mythology. We know the Testament of Solomon maintains a great influence from the Greeks, and so it's possible that Brius is actually one of the Hecatoncheires, an ugly giant with 100 arms and 50 heads. We come to this conclusion because there existed within the mythology one of the Hecatoncheires known as Briarus, one who you might say sounds similar to Brius. In the Theogony by Hesiod, Briarus is marked as being one of the good giants, and is favoured by the god Poseidon, who marries him to his daughter. However, there is no indication that Briarus becomes an angel of any sort, and so the similarity between Briarus and Brius may be completely coincidental. In the next video, we see Solomon come face to face with yet another demon stroke animal, one that is even more profound than the demon Hound Rabdos. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and as always guys, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Until the next time.